finding ways to get into your low back and mobilize that area is one of the things that I get approached with all the time, not only as a coach, but as a chiropractor, right? Everybody knows chiropractors work with backs, right? Main question, oh, I have this really tight back, what do I do, right? And we've talked about a number of different things on this channel, right? We're talking McKenzie extensions, working into the hips, because the hips are really tied into the low back. They play a really big push-pull relationship. But one move that I like to give most, if not all, of my coaching clients, right, because they're operating off of heavy barbells and doing all this kind of stuff, is something called a Jefferson curl. And anybody can do a Jefferson curl. We'll talk about the scaling here in this video. So basically the Jefferson curl is taking your entire spine and you're creating segmental, i.e. piece by piece flexion, bending forward. So what that's going to look like is I'm going to start with my head. That's going to fall forward, followed by my neck, followed by my upper back, followed by my mid back, and so on, right? This is a very classical yoga move, right? Where we think about letting this entire body fold over. And with that, as we come down to the bottom, we get lots of stretching into that low back. A lot of people find, oh, this feels really good. This is allowing that back to relax. And from here, I like to maybe just get a couple of swings back and forth, right? This starts to tie into those hips. I can pump the legs, which is a little bit of hamstring pulling onto the pelvis as well. And I'll do the exact same in reverse, where I'll scoop my pelvis under. So that's locked in steady. And now I'm gonna get those pieces to start stacking up piece by piece by piece by piece. And so that's the Jefferson curl just in general, right? That segmental flexion and then segmental extension, rolling down and rolling up. And that's pretty good for most people. It's when we're on our off days and we're not necessarily going into the gym or touching any of our at-home equipment. That's something that we can simply do to kind of roll down, roll up, get a little bit of movement in that spine. But what we like to give actually in office and with some of the clients here at Outsiders is we like to do it weighted and or on a box with a little bit of extra length, right? The way that we can do weighted is we can do barbell or like a weight like a kettlebell or a dumbbell. I have a kettlebell right here, so we'll kind of talk about that. And then box, it doesn't necessarily matter how high the box or whatever platform you're on is. It just matters how far can I reach down. So with weight, it's the exact same idea, right? And I like to hold my kettlebell with as little or as to make it as short as possible because I have enough hamstring, right, that as far as I go down, right, I'm already hitting the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up onto this box, right, and it's the same idea. I'm going to start with my head, rolling, 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 right, lots of flexion into the low back, right? A lot of the times we all say, hey, we don't want to be lifting with a rounded spine, which you're totally correct, right? We shouldn't be trying to lift anything up with this nice rounded back, but we don't want the first time our low back is experiencing this flexion to be when we are lifting something heavy, right? It's like getting up off the couch and trying to run a marathon. So, tiptoeing into it, I round everything, and from here, I really let that low back and those hamstrings stretch, coming all the way down, big stretch. And from here, I'm not necessarily gonna wiggle around and do all the different movements that I did when I was unweighted, just because this is a little more intensive of a move. But from here, I'll start to curl, get that butt under, and roll, and roll, and roll, all the way back up. You almost want to think of yourself as being a snake trying to bend over yourself and slither down your body and then reverse bring that back up. Now, we talked about the kettlebell right there. My favorite way to do it is with a barbell though, because what I can do is I can take this really wide snatch grip. And this is going to allow me to get as much motion as I can into my back and hamstrings. I can also keep this bar pressed up against my body, and that's going to maintain that kind of closeness instead of feeling like I'm hinging at my hips and swinging away. So again, rolling, sliding, down, 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 and then same way up. I'm really using my hips here to scoop myself under. And then once my hips are locked in below me nice and solid, then I can start to think about using my back muscles to lift myself up. I'm not trying to lift with my back all the way down here. I'm using those hips, those hamstrings, those glutes, then a little bit of back, all the way up. So again, you can do the Jefferson with or without weight. I highly recommend it. In fact, I always recommend doing some without the weight first, just to get a little bit of warm up into that back. No pain up and down without weight, then we start to add some weight. No pain with that, hey, maybe we can start to go a little farther. Of course, we want to try to go with lengthening, right? If we're doing something off of a box, of course, with a very, very minimal weight to help us kind of get there. But with some of my high-end athletes, we are doing these Jefferson curls, maybe not necessarily off of the box, but with some weight on a barbell, right? Working on exposing that low back to heavier and heavier loads, because that's what they do in their sport. So we always got to have some sport specificity when it comes to your rehab and all that kind of stuff. But this is a really, really good, solid foundational exercise or mobility drill for your low back.